You are listening to www.interawakened.org.
The radiant stillness out of which all this arises is luminous and beautiful and brilliant. Is Genpo Roshi about the most amazing thing you've ever seen? Isn't it just extraordinary? Man, it's not just Genpo as a human being and as an enlightened human being and a deeply, deeply decent human being, which is much harder than being enlightened instantly. It's that what he's done, the effort and the sheer bodhisattva impulse to take the essence of one of the world's great, great traditions and work as hard as he could to distill it down and condense it into a way that really captures the fundamentals of it in a few hours, as you saw, is truly, I think, one of the major breakthroughs. It's just an extraordinary, extraordinary fundamental component of an integral orientation. And we're honored and delighted to be working with him and delighted to have you be able to explore that with him. And of course you can continue and deepen Big Mind process if you wish by studying with Genpo or some of his students, or pursue a more traditional path with Genpo as well. But as a foundational awakening to your true nature, which is ever present, and to be able to flash on it in a very simple and straightforward way is a precious, precious gift. And it's one of the precious gifts of the lineages that we have. And each of them comes from one of the great awakenings that a particular individual went through. Some man or woman who had a just extraordinary breakthrough and managed to find ways to pass it on. Usually those streams evolve and unfold. And Buddhism, for example, went through Theravada to Mahayana to Vajrayana, all sparked by the deep realization of Siddhartha Gautama Buddha and the awakening that this individual had into the deep, true nature of his own being and the nature of the universe is, if you believe the traditions now, and this part is relatively probably very, very straightforward, is in an unbroken lineage the same awakening that you experienced. So it's been refined and passed through a mind stream of thousands and millions of people who have plugged into this particular form of recognizing the ever-present fundamental ground and condition of all existence. And then, of course, there are Christian versions and Vedanta versions and so on. But the summit, they all do culminate in this ever-present isness, suchness, that is your own condition and the condition of the universe, moment to moment. And we'll do maybe another one or two exercises to show you some other dimensions of it in the next hour and a half. I might walk you through using I amness, for an example, as a way to anchor some of this and give you another little version of it. But I think that's I know I speak for all of us for thanking Genpo for being part of that. What we've tried to do in looking at all the various traditions and also the forms of psychotherapeutic growth, East and West, and the great contributions of modern and postmodern West. Now, most of the great contemplative traditions are foundational, but the modern West is not populated with mere idiots. There have been extraordinarily profound contributions to the nature of the human psyche and aspects of it that aren't touched by the traditions. And we tend to refer to what we call the 3 S's: states, stages, and shadow. And so these ever-present states, like non-dual big mind, are foundational. And then these types of stages, within the stages that are investigated by Jane Lovinger, Claire Grace, Spiral Dynamics, Robert Keegan, Piaget, the really great contribution of the modern West, this helps you get a framework on how your own consciousness is unfolding. You can experience non-dual, ever-present big mind at any of these stages. And the more you do that, the more it will accelerate growth through these stages. So by combining that with an understanding, it gives us a little bit larger framework. And then there's also shadow elements. And shadow elements are something that are just not obvious when you introspect. So you don't tend to find a really good understanding of what we call psychodynamic shadow elements in the great traditions. Again, that's not a fault of theirs. It's like saying they don't know about DNA and they don't know about kidney transplants. Yeah, not a problem. But it is a problem if you have a path that isn't including an understanding of states, stages, and shadow. So what we do in the fundamental framework that we offer you, the 4 core modules, cover all of these. And we particularly we ground it in a recognition of ever-present Big Mind and ever-present Godhead, ever-present origin, which is your true self and the self of the universe as well. And then we add a framework that includes an understanding of states and stages and shadow. And we also add an actual practice of how to work with your shadow. And you'll be getting some of that starting tomorrow and going throughout the week. And that's also very explosive. You get to really get in touch with all those just disgusting, filthy component aspects of yourself that you thought were merely wandering around out there. So, get ready for the fun part of this. And then getting some taste, you get more taste of what we call the 3-body workout. Because if you have body, mind, spirit, shadow, the body component's important, but you have 3 bodies. You have a gross, subtle, and causal body. And we want you to learn to exercise all 3 of those bodies. We want you to learn to make love with all 3 of those bodies. We want you to go to work with all 3 of those bodies. And that's an intrinsic component of this. So those are the core modules. And what we found is that if you don't have all 4 of those, it doesn't stick. You can have these profound realizations and they somehow don't seem to stick. Or you can actually get through a great deal of meditative states training and not really get at your shadow. So it's not a criticism of any of these. It's not a criticism of the shadow work stuff to say that they don't understand Big Mind or they don't understand some of these other stages or they don't have a 3-body workout. That's okay, but what they did is extraordinary. But we found that these 4 core modules, if you leave out any one of them, then it doesn't work quite as well. And if you put all 4 of them together, that's the minimum you need. That's the key that unlocks the door to realization that sticks. And then a realization that can be applied in your life in a comprehensive or integral fashion. And the moment you come out of emptiness, Big Mind, how do you interpret it? And so that's what's so extraordinary about being able to put these all together. This has never happened before in the history of the known universe. Now, being somebody who wrote a book called Boomeritis, I'm aware of grandiose statements. What I just said, of course, was empirically factual. and that's important to understand. Because I'm a very, I have no neurosis and no shadow elements left. Although a lot of you have shadows, and I'm trying to work out I might have to do a little 3-2-1 process on that.